Hi, my name is Celine Thomas. I'm a Strategic Initiatives Coordinator at a nonprofit based in Montreal, Quebec. I'm really passionate about Indigenous education equity and supporting and empowering all youth from marginalized backgrounds. My passion for Indigenous education equity came from my experience working in central Quebec in a Cree community. I got to work with children and high school students and even university students to support literacy on reserve. And through that, I was exposed to all the gaps in the education system. And so from that, I've learned and have pursued a path and career in research and advocacy and programming to better support and understand the challenges that Indigenous youth are facing. I'm also trying to learn more about land-based learning programs, which are helping youth can reconnect to their language, culture, and land. And I think this is a great model to expand and to learn from in Canada. And one great example, and I'm going there next week, is to the Mississipauwishtik Cree Nation in northern Manitoba, where they've been running a land-based learning program for a few years now to support youth. And they count as cultural credits in high school, which is a great way to bridge Indigenous learning and teachings into standardized curriculum. So I can name two examples where I've seen Indigenous support and transition work really well. One is in the province of British Columbia. They actually have a tuition waiver program for all those who are coming out of care. And historically, Indigenous youth are overrepresented in the care system, and as a result, they have less opportunity or access to higher education. Thus, many schools across BC have waived tuition for all of those coming out of care, which has given the opportunity for these youth to access education. And furthermore, they support them within the schools with peer advisors, cultural support, and safe spaces where Indigenous youth can thrive and come together to build community and to connect. Another example that I think has worked really well and is ensuring greater access and transition support for Indigenous youth is actually here in Quebec. The James Bay Cree School Board has their own funding and their own determination to support all Cree youth in the province, and they have their own fund to help send youth on the reserve to post-secondary institutions across the country. So in terms of helping them, they are ensuring that they at least have the funding to go and pursue higher education. So those are two I'd say that are really critical and great examples to look at. So I think there are many ways that representatives and leaders in higher education can support Indigenous youth. I think the number one thing we can all do is to recognize the land and the people that we have been with in all announcements, speeches, on websites. It's important, and it creates that initial recognition that is so important to Indigenous youth. The second thing I would say is to bring youth to the table, really incorporate their voice, give them agency to share what matters to them and what they need in order to feel supported and safe on campus environments. And lastly, I would say is that there are programs and policies that can be put into place to actually bridge what happens in communities on reserves to education institutions. One example I'd point to is that McGill's Faculty of Arts just received a large endowment from a private foundation to support and expand their Indigenous education on campus. So not only are they creating an honors and a majors program for Indigenous education, they're actually creating courses that are based in the community on reserves, and those count as credits so that students can go learn in community, be with the people that they are studying, and get to connect with the people. So I think if we can start to build those inter-community and nation-to-nation partnerships, we can go a great way to ensure inclusivity and more greater recognition and reconciliation on campus.